Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our NetSuite Analytics Warehouse webinar today. My name is Joel Mickelson. I'm the sales manager for Fusion 5 at Oracle. I'm the sales manager for Oracle NetSuite at Fusion 5, and I look after NetSuite and corporate performance management for Australia. We know most of the attendees today are Fusion 5 customers and are already familiar with us and what we do. However, there is quite a few people connected today who are either new to Fusion 5 or to NetSuite or both. So in light of that, let me quickly introduce Fusion 5 for those of you who are not already familiar with us, just very briefly, and then we can get straight into the demo of Analytics Warehouse. So Fusion 5 is a technology partner for quite a lot of software vendors in ANZ, including Oracle, but also Microsoft, Workday, Blackline, IBM, Citrix, ServiceNow, etc., and many, many more. With 750 employees across our 9 offices in Australia and New Zealand, we're already supporting over 1,200 technology customers, including around 300 NetSuite customers. So we're one of the largest technology partners in the ANZ region and the 3rd largest NetSuite partner globally. Today, we're focusing on a new application that's part of the NetSuite ecosystem. That's NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, which is the 3rd generation of reporting and BI technology to form part of the NetSuite ecosystem. So without any further ado, very excited to hand over to Justin Tang today to present this very exciting addition of the NetSuite family to you. So thanks, Justin.
No problems. All right, hi everybody. So again, thanks for coming to today's session on NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. So just a little bit about myself. So my name is Justin Tang, and I am a senior sales consultant at NetSuite, and I've been here for just over 2 years now. And before this, I was a technology consultant for about 5 years. So I've worked with a whole range of customers across various different industries, solving their business challenges with technology solutions. Now, before I get stuck into the NSAW demo, just going over our safe harbor statement. So essentially what this slide is saying is that everything that I do show today is general product direction only. Of course, if there is something that you see today that you absolutely love or it piques your interest, certainly reach out to your Fusion 5 counterpart. So in terms of my agenda, firstly, I'll go through a bit of an introduction and overview of NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. I'll then walk you through what comes out of the box, and then we'll get jumped right into a demonstration. And for my demonstration today, I'll be going over 3 key areas, which is firstly, leveraging pre-built content that comes with NSAW, leveraging artificial intelligence, and then showing you what is possible with NSAW with Art of the Possible. So the brain is one of the most studied organs in our entire bodies, and over time we've come to learn more and more things about our brain. For example, we now know that the left side of our brain typically controls things like logical reasoning, and the right side of our brain controls things like artistic abilities. We also know that there are certain cross sections of the brain that are responsible for certain things like memory, skills, and speech. In fact, if I were to hook myself up to an fMRI right now, we'll actually see multiple parts of my brain light up, and they'll all essentially be working together to help me make a decision and even to help me construct the sentences that I'm making right now. And this is, in my view, what NSAW can provide to you and your business. So whether it's data coming from NetSuite or data coming from external applications, NSAW will give you that ability to bring all of those data points together, synthesize that information, and drive better decision making. So in terms of the key data matching scenarios that NSAW will cater for, this is really around 3 key scenarios that NSAW will help with. The first one is where you've got multiple NetSuite transaction types and you want to mash together data amongst those transaction types. For example, mashing together data from sales orders with purchase orders as well as work orders together. Where previously in just your core NetSuite ERP, that may have been a little bit more challenging to perform. Secondly is where you've got external applications. So this could be an external CRM like Salesforce, Dropbox, or Google Analytics as an example, and you want to mash together data amongst those applications or potentially mashing it together with your NetSuite transactions. Again, NSAW will cater for that scenario. Finally, the 3rd scenario is around pre-NetSuite data. So perhaps you're a new customer to NetSuite, or you're just migrating off an old system, perhaps it's a WMS, and you're moving onto a new WMS system. And so your old system might have a lot of key information across the business that you want to maintain onto. So NetSuite Analytics Warehouse will allow you to hold all of that pre-NetSuite data or old legacy data from other applications, bring it into a single data warehouse, and then allow you to maintain that information and perform a future analysis on it. So again, at a high level, NSAW will allow you to cater to all of those three scenarios, bring it together into one data warehouse. NSAW will act as that business brain, synthesize that information, and provide you with the outputs, whether it be key insights, reports, or dashboards around all of that data. So I just want to talk a little bit now about NetSuite's analytics product portfolio. So essentially where we've come from to where we are now with the third generation of analytics. So the first generation includes things like saved searches and reports. So you might already be familiar with this. You're able to perform saved searches and generate reports as part of your core NetSuite license. And we use these to do things like generate key financial statements, as well as run saved searches based off of our NetSuite data. The second generation includes Suite Analytics Workbooks, as well as Suite Analytics Connect. So Suite Analytics Workbooks was introduced around 2 years ago, and it allows you to generate more visualizations such as pivot charts and graphs. However, this is really around your NetSuite data only. Secondly, with Suite Analytics Connect, this is an ODBC connector that allows you to connect your NetSuite data to external third-party applications. So where we are today with our third generation is NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. And NetSuite Analytics Warehouse is actually a packaged solution. And in that package includes Suite Analytics Connector, that ODBC connector from second generation, as well as being bundled in with a BI solution and a data warehousing solution all in one. We're able to provide you with more robust data visualization capabilities that go beyond the Suite Analytics workbooks. And what's key is that it allows you to bring in data not just from NetSuite, but from third-party applications as well. So what's included in the NSAW solution? Well, everything you see in that green box over there. So we've got the Oracle Autonomous Data Warehouse, the Oracle Analytics Cloud, which is the BI tool, that Suite Analytics Connector, which is that ODBC connector from Generation 2. Now, what sets NetSuite Analytics Warehouse apart from potential third-party BI tool solutions is that because we're providing you both a BI tool and a data warehousing tool, as well as being your ERP provider, we can streamline that transfer of ERP information directly into that data warehousing tool. And who knows data, your NetSuite data more than your NetSuite providers, right? So because of that NetSuite data pipeline, we're then able to provide you with pre-built content around meaningful dashboards centered around your ERP information from day one. So based on our estimations, there'll be up to 6 times faster time to value, as well as 50% in savings potential. So if I were today to go out and set up a similar BI tool solution centered around my NetSuite ERP data, some of the things that I would need to do would be to firstly purchase the Suite Analytics connector. I might have to go out and find an ETL solution, a data warehousing solution, and then finally a BI tool solution to sit on top of all of that. So in my previous life as that technology consultant, I did work on a project where a big project was to set up a cloud BI tool solution for one of my clients. And that project took around 11 months to implement. And a key reason why it took so long was because we had to go through and source various different partners and solutions, such as an ETL, data warehouse, and a BI tool. We also had to go through very lengthy security approval processes across each of those different solutions. So with NSAW, what we're effectively allowing you to do is set up a similar BI tool centered around your ERP in a packaged solution. So you won't have to go out and set up all of those various different bespoke solutions. It's all going to be bundled all in one. So around my ERP data, I'll have an ETL provided, I'll have a data warehouse provided, as well as a BI tool provided, all in the packaged solution. Of course, streamlining the setup and the time taken to set up a similar solution. So another key reason why we're able to provide that 6 times faster time to value is because of our NetSuite data model. And like I I said, who understands NetSuite data transactions other than NetSuite ourselves? So we understand how the transactions are set up, and we're providing you with 61 transaction types across sales, financials, inventory, and procurement, streamlined across from your ERP directly into that data warehousing solution. And again, because of this data pipeline, we're able to provide you with pre-built dashboards around financials, sales, inventory, and purchasing. We also have pre-built connectors to third-party applications. So these are already in place. So if you've already got applications like Salesforce, Dropbox, Google Analytics, we have pre-built connectors that already connect to NetSuite Analytics Warehouse from day one. Now, if you do use an application that you don't see on the screen over here, we can always explore other options, potentially through CSV or API, or some other way to bring that data in. So just want to re-emphasize that faster time to value. So on the left-hand side is that DIY build scenario, which is essentially that scenario of my old project where majority of the time was spent on setting up the data, managing the reports, as well as going through that lengthy security approval process. Whereas on the right-hand side, we have NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, which is essentially a turn on and configure solution, where from day one, we're able to bring in that data, get you started analyzing your information from ERP, and then should you need it, extend your data to other sources to build upon your analytics warehouse. So with that, I'll move on to our demonstration for today. So let's say for today, I am the CFO of your company, and I want to prepare a monthly board deck for my monthly board meeting that's happening on Friday. Now, before NSAW, some of the things that I might do would be to firstly extract data from NetSuite. I might then put that into an Excel spreadsheet, manipulate that data, generate a visualization, and then export that out for a PowerPoint. So let's see how I might do that in my NSAW account. So here I am, I've logged into NSAW, and this is what my home screen will look like. So I've got quick access to things like my favorite workbooks, as well as even all of my data sets. Now these data sets are going to show data from NetSuite directly, or it could be data coming in from one of the connectors, or potentially even a CSV that we've imported from an external data source. So to build upon my dashboard that I want to present for my board meeting, I'm going to actually leverage upon my pre-built content and the pre-built data pipeline that's coming directly from NetSuite. So to do that, I will navigate firstly to my NetSuite folder in my catalog, so this one over here. And this is essentially going to be where all of my pre-built content coming from NetSuite is going to be housed. So we can see we've got key folders like financials, inventory, as well as purchasing and sales. And within each of these folders, there'll be a series of workbooks that are readily available for me to use from day one. So each folder will have the series of workbooks that I can use and analyze. Again, we're able to provide you with these from day one because of that pre-built data pipeline coming from NetSuite and understanding how the transaction structures are. Similarly, for my financials folder, I've also got a series of workbooks, again, that come readily available out of the box for me to use from day one. I also have what we call overview dashboards. So these overview dashboards are typically used by more of an executive, where I'll be able to get that quick snapshot analysis around all of those other metrics in just a single view. So for example, under my inventory overview, I'll be able to quickly analyze at a very high level my entire inventory in the single dashboard itself. Great, so we can see my dashboard over here. I've got inventory, item cost analysis, back order, inventory transfers, and inventory turnover. And these are all interactive. So if I wanted to add specific filters, so perhaps I want to drill down into a particular month, or I want to view all the month leading up until this current month, I can quickly just select January all the way until July, and we can see that dashboard being updated in the background in real time. So to prepare for that financial board deck, I'm actually going to leverage upon a dashboard that was able to be created from that NetSuite data pipeline. So to do that, I'll view my financials dashboard over here. And again, this is really what's possible when we have that data pipeline coming from NetSuite into my NetSuite data warehouse. So this is my financials dashboard. Again, it's from my NetSuite data pipeline data. And in my dashboard, we can see we've got 5 tabs below over here. We've got one for revenue, we've got one for incoming, outgoing cash, receivables, payables, as well as expenses. Just looking at my revenue one at the moment, in the top left-hand corner, I've got a summary of my annual revenue, the year-on-year revenue growth below that, my top customers in the bottom right-hand corner, and then revenue by class just sitting above that. Now, if we think about core NetSuite, if I were to bring up, say, a profit and loss statement, and I wanted to analyze, a scenario around my revenue by a particular class, for example, I might have to bring up multiple different tabs, drill down into multiple different filters, or I could be bringing up multiple reports and then a report upon a report to analyze, the revenue around, let's say, my tech class, for example. So with NSAW, I'm able to do that full analysis or get that holistic view of my revenue by particular classes directly from the dashboard itself without having to drill down into multiple different reports. So if I use this as a filter on my revenue by class and I drill down into, say, my tech class, we can see my entire dashboard get updated in the context of revenue by tech class. So again, I don't have to navigate away. I don't need to drill down into a particular report or bring up multiple different reports. I can do it all directly from this screen over here. Again, with finance, clicking on finance, we can see this entire dashboard get updated in the context of that finance class. Likewise, if I wanted to drill down into particular states, perhaps by location, again, clicking on my Arizona state over here, we can see my entire dashboard get updated. So I can analyze annual revenue, year-on-year growth revenue by that particular state. And similarly, I can analyze that with Texas. So for each of these tabs that I've got below here, I've set them up to be similar. So I've got a summary in the top left-hand corner, as well as the supporting visualizations surrounded by them. And they are all interactive. So as I hover over them, we can see we've got that, that detail for me to analyze that pops up. And just like before, they are all drillable. So for example, with my expenses, if I wanted to analyze, my admin department expenses, again, making this as a filter, clicking on admin, I'll be able to do that quick analysis without navigating away or bringing up multiple different reports just to understand that particular expense scenario analysis. So if I like the look of any of these views, I'll be able to export it out directly from the screen. So clicking on this export button over here under file, I'll be able to export it out into a PowerPoint, PDF, image, or a CSV, ready for that board meeting that I've got on Friday. Okay, so just coming back to my presentation, I just want to shift gears a little bit and talk about natural language processing. So what is natural language processing? Well, it's a branch of artificial intelligence that effectively allows computers to understand, manipulate, and generate human language. So you might already be using it as part of your everyday life, such as through things like your Siris or your virtual assistants, where you're able to say something like, hey, so-and-so, play the happy birthday song. And your phone will pick that up, understand it, and then provide you with that output. So how does this relate to NSAW? Well, as we've mentioned before, NSAW is that package solution. And in that package includes Oracle Analytics Cloud, and Oracle Analytics Cloud leverages upon AI technology such as natural language processing. So what would this mean for me if I were a data analyst at your organization? Well, in the past, if I were to generate a visualization, I might have to write a complex SQL query just to query my data. If it required me to match data with other data sets, it could be a very complex one. I've got to make sure that the query is correct, export out the query. I might then export that into an Excel, manipulate that data, again, generate a visualization, and then provide to my management. So with NSAW, I'll effectively be able to use natural language to query my data and get outputs immediately. So for example, just basically using basic language, I could write something like last month's sales orders, admin expenses for the month as an example. NSAW, being that brain, will understand it in its plain form and then provide me with the output, whether it be a count, a visualization, or a chart. Again, this really removes the need to write complex SQL querying and allows me to streamline that reporting process as that data analyst. So let's see this in action. Coming back to NSAW, I'll just clear my search bar over here. And today I'm going to query my data with something very simple like total number of cash sales. So we can see I've written total number of cash sales. There's no SQL querying involved or anything like that, just plain text. And we can see we've gone straight to account. So no count statements involved at all. But let's say I want to mash this together with another piece of information, just writing shipping address state, and then just finding my cash sales for shipping address. With a click of a button, we can see we've actually gone straight to some visualizations. Let me just actually redo this. So I've done firstly, total number of cash sales. Apologies for that, I was selecting the wrong one. And then shipping address state. Cash sales. Before I clicked on cash refund, so that's why we had that error. So now we're clicking on cash sales and we've gone straight to a visualization. And immediately from this, we can already see that I didn't have to write any SQL. There was no need to export the data. I didn't have to do any manual mapping. It's already giving me a visualization and in fact a heat map where I can immediately identify this location here has the most number of cash sales. But let's say I want to go even further and I want to mash it together with another piece of information. So classification name. Again, we've got more outputs and more visualizations that get generated utilizing the mashing scenarios of cash sales, shipping address state, and classification name. I can go further, again, using basic language, so fiscal period. And here again, we can see we've got more visualizations taking into account all of these different data mashing scenarios. So again, to get here, no SQLs, no complex join statements or any complex union statements involved at all. It was all done through that basic human language. So at this point, what we've just seen is that I was able to generate visualizations on the fly without, literally within a minute. And now if I want to analyze a particular visualization, I can just simply click on this explore button over here, and it's going to open up the visualizations workbook where I can do my further analysis on manipulation of the actual visualization itself. So for example, if I wanted to split this visualization apart according to each of my departments, it's really drag and drop. So department name, dragging it across to my trellis rows, we can see this being immediately updated here. So all drag and drop, very easy to use. Now this visualization, looks great, but what does it mean? And more importantly, what does it mean for the business? So something that NSAW can also do is convert visualizations into text. So firstly, I'll duplicate this visualization and I'll just go ahead and convert it into a text over here. And what we'll actually see is a very detailed description of what this visualization is actually showing. So we can see here it's got data of total number of cash sales across my beauty, apparel, and goods departments. And in fact, it's giving me statistical information as well that more than half is coming from that beauty department with 20,966. So again, just to get here, no SQL querying, no complex joining or anything like that. I didn't have to write up this text myself. It was all done through that NSAW brain. Now, another way that we can leverage upon the AI brain within NSAW is through what we call auto insights. So again, you could be a new customer to NetSuite, or perhaps you've just purchased a new WMS model, but your old WMS module might have a lot of historical information that you still want to maintain onto. So to do that for my demo environment today, I'll just go ahead and upload one of my legacy data sets. So again, this could be coming from an external data source directly. It could be from one of the pre-built connectors that we've got with third-party applications, or it could be just a simple CSV import like I'm doing right now. So here as I've loaded in that WMS data, I can see that NSAW has already picked up on all of the relevant rows and columns. So just go ahead and select OK. And we can see that there is going to be some very high level statistical analysis from the get-go that NSAW was able to pick up on. So I'll just save this data set and I'll just call it WMS legacy. Perhaps this old WMS system holds a lot of key fulfillment information around how my warehouse operates. So I want to maintain onto that data. So now that it's saved, coming back to my home screen and clicking on data, we can see WMS legacy now appears as a data source. So before I open it up, I just want to make sure that I've got my auto insights checked off under my inspect. And that's checked off by enable insights. And that ensures that we are utilizing that AI technology when we actually open up the workbook. So as I open up this workbook, we'll see this all in action on the right-hand side. So this is effectively what the auto insights is. So effectively NSAW has already analyzed that entire data set that we have just loaded in, and it's already thought about some potential visualizations that might be useful for me as I build out this new workbook. And so what you'll notice is that not only did I not have to build out these visualizations myself, but all of these visualizations have a supporting text above it. And that text is going to show both statistical information as well as descriptive information about that visualization, explaining it. So similar to what we just saw before with the beauty apparel and the home goods. So at this point, I can go through and I can sift through all of these options that NSAW has already picked up on. I can add them to my workbook for my analysis, and then I can start to build out, how I want to, see this particular workbook around my fulfillment information. But now let's say I have, gone through all of these suggested insights and I've decided, well, actually, there's a particular insight that I want to build out myself or a visualization that I want to build out myself that I don't see. And so I want to build that on the fly as part of the workbook. So the way that I can do that is simply, again, point and click technology with NSAW. So similar to before, how I had split up the various different departments, with building out a visualization on the fly, it's again point and click. So let's say I want to build out a particular visualization for, let's say, picking duration against over time against a particular picker within the warehouse. So I've selected those 3 different components. If I just do a right mouse click and select create best visualization, we can see that NSAW is going to go ahead and create that visualization for me, utilizing all of those 3 different components. And we see that down here in the graph. So again, very easy to create a visualization on the fly, whether that's through the natural language processing we saw before, or just through point and click technology. So again, at this point, if I want to drill down into a particular scenario, so again, let's say I want to drill down into a particular picker within the warehouse, let's say patty picking, making that as a filter, selecting on patty picking, we'll be able to see this entire dashboard get updated. So I can drill down into specifically how that particular picker is operating within that warehouse. Again, under Tommy Pickles, clicking on Tommy, we can see that get updated according to Tommy Pickles. And again, similar to before, if I want to export any of these out readily for perhaps a weekly meeting that I've got with these particular staff members, I could export that out directly from the dashboard itself. Okay, so now I just want to talk a little bit about more of the art of the possible. So with art of the possible, let's say we've got those data connectors to third-party applications, and we've brought in data from perhaps a POS system. Maybe we've got a marketplace, perhaps we're selling on Amazon, for example, and we might also have an e-commerce store, for example. And all of those different data points, they're generating sales, but we want to find a way that we can consolidate all that information into one single place so that we can analyze all of those different sales channels, right? So showing you what's possible. So under my, my ANZ retail sales overview, in this example here, I've brought in data coming from a POS system. I brought in data coming from an e-commerce store as well as a marketplace, where I was able to generate one single dashboard where I could analyze all of my different sales channels effectively in one place. And again, I'd be able to drill down and analyze the full context around particular sales channels directly from the dashboard without having to navigate away. So here we can see for this one over here, these are color coded. So we've got that light teal color showing as my web store, the orange color as retail, and then that dark color as marketplace. So if I wanted to drill down into, let's say, my web store sales, clicking on web store, we can see that entire dashboard get updated to view that holistic analysis and then compare it against, let's say, my marketplace. Right? And so let's say I want to analyze multiple at once, again, using my filters at the top over here, like we saw at the start with those other dashboards, I'll be able to just simply select the ones that I want to analyze. So if let's say I want to take out maybe my retail store and just analyze web store versus marketplace, taking that out, we can see that entire dashboard get updated to show that context. All right, so there's lots of flexibility that we can do when it comes to analyzing our data. And in this particular instance, I'm showing you really how we can bring in data from multiple different sources, such as the POS system, web store, marketplace, and bring it all into one single dashboard for you to get that full holistic analysis of your sales. So the last thing that I wanted to show is essentially, another branch of the AI technology that comes with NSAW, and that is through what we call sentiment analysis with NSAW. So perhaps we do sell online at a marketplace, maybe it's an Amazon web store, sorry, an Amazon marketplace, and we might receive data coming from Amazon perhaps on a weekly basis. It could be a CSV file, and within that file, we might get things like, the customer comments that customers may have left on our particular products. So as an example over here, let's say we've received that data coming from Amazon, and it's all of this raw text here where customers have left comments about particular products that we sell. What NSAW is able to do is a sentiment analysis where basically it's able to read all of this text, understand it in plain English, and then convert it into an emotion. So these emotions here are ratings that NSAW was able to pick up on, such as a negative review, a neutral review, as well as a positive review. And again, this is not coming from the raw data, it's all coming from that sentiment analysis capability in NSAW. So using this in an application, I'm able to firstly, drill down into my negative emotions, and immediately I'll be able to identify, what are the specific comments that customers are leaving that's, giving off a negative impression. And more importantly, what are the particular products that customers are actually leaving these negative comments about, right? So here I'll be able to do that analysis utilizing that sentiment analysis within NSAW. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the demo portion of today. There is actually quite a lot more that we could discuss, but again, as I've mentioned, if something does pique your interest, feel free to reach out to your Fusion 5 counterpart. So just to wrap up, what have we seen today? So there's really three key messages that I really want to hone in on or want you to, walk away with from today. The first one is that NSAW is an all-in-one solution. Secondly, we're providing you with, effectively a business brain or a second business brain. And then finally, it's a simple to use user interface. So firstly, with an all-in-one solution, so we saw that it combines both an ETL, a data warehousing solution, and a BI tool all in one. So this is definitely going to streamline the costs as well as the time taken to set up a similar BI tool solution based around your ERP data, as well as realizing value sooner by providing you with that pre-built content available from day one. We can also help you leverage upon innovation through utilizing things like that AI technology that we saw earlier in the demonstration. Secondly, with the business brain, we're able to bring in data not just from NetSuite, but if we get further to other applications as well, effectively giving you more visibility across your entire business, allowing you to make better business decisions, and ultimately, because of those better business decisions, you'll be able to increase your profits. Finally, we saw that it is a very simple to use user interface. So when it comes to manipulating visualizations or building visualizations on the fly, it was a simple drag and drop or a point and click. And in fact, just to generate a visualization, I could also use natural language processing. So this is ultimately going to reduce time as well as reduce costs that it would typically take to set up something similar. And because of how easy it is to use, it's going to ultimately improve on employee satisfaction. So that's all from me in terms of the demo. Happy to answer any questions, should there be any in the chat.
Great, thanks, Justin. Thank you very much for that presentation. That was very good. I'm sure there'll be lots of additional questions that come from that, but we do have a couple of questions in our chat box at the moment that I'll just put to you now so that we can answer them. So one of the first ones we had was, do you have pre-built dashboards for your forecasting data if you have NetSuite a budgeting module?
Yeah, so NSPB is that NetSuite planning and budgeting. So the two will have its own place. So NSAW is more of a holistic, high-level, quick insights tool, whereas NetSuite planning and budgeting is more around your financials planning and budgeting, which also does inputs back into NetSuite. Whereas NSAW is not a two-way input system, so updates in NSAW don't reflect back in NetSuite. It's more for that quick snapshot, holistic view where you're able to bring in data from multiple sources, not just around your financials, where NSPB is more around your financials.
Yeah, so I suppose it would just be a matter then of connecting the NSPB instance to the data source of NSAW if you wanted to bring some of those insights in. So we could definitely have a chat and see if there's a way we could make that happen. The second question would be, will this function be in Sandbox for test? So I think you might be able to answer that one potentially.
Yep, so you can purchase a sandbox in addition to the standard tier. So there is a sandbox available. It doesn't come out of the box with it though.
Yeah, no worries at all. Great. Can you load monthly budget sales data by customer and class and then report on actuals against budget?
So so it wouldn't be a report that comes out of the box, but effectively, if you've got the actuals coming from the transactional data, as well as importing budget information, you would be able to bring up a report like that.
Yeah, we could match those two data sets together. Then you could do a budget versus actuals report. Yeah, for sure. And one of the other questions we had was, are there trial periods available, either paid or unpaid, in order to perform a proof of concept on whether or not NSAW will meet the needs of the business?
I don't believe there is a trial period.
Yeah, I don't think there is either, but we can certainly get back to the question asker on that one to see whether or not that's possible. I think the standard NetSuite licensing rules will apply there, but we can definitely look into that one a little bit further. And the last question we had in the chat was, would we be able to create any customer specific reports or dashboards and then give customers access to view these reports built specifically for them?
So you could export them out and then send it to the customer. So I guess it would come down to what level of security you would want to have across the business. Sorry, can you still see me?
No, it's okay. The poll's coming up, but we can still hear you. That's fine.
Oh yeah, okay. So with NSAW, they don't necessarily need a NetSuite license to access it. It's just basically who you grant a license to for NSAW, so it's separate. But you can set up rules around security to safeguard what they can view. But I would recommend if you're going to send it to a customer, you would export that out and just send it directly to them.
Yeah, for sure. So if we wanted the customer to have access to a dashboard in combination of giving them or granting them access a seat to NSAW, then we could set up a secure role for them just to access their own data. So now I suppose there's probably some questions around licensing there. So the standard product comes with 10 licenses out of the box. You can purchase up to an additional 40 licenses to give you 50 licenses before you go to the premium. And then those licenses are separate to your standard NetSuite licenses, so you can give people access to those licenses without giving them access to your NetSuite environment. As a current NetSuite user, can you provide an indicative cost of implementation of NSAW? Justin, I don't know if you have that available or not. Do you have sort of general? Yeah, no worries. We can, we'll take a look at who answered that and we'll come back to you directly on that one. One of the other questions we had is the reports look good on a high level. How do we verify the data on a more granular level? How to manage the raw data? Is there anything like MS SQL Server Studio available to review the raw data table?
Yeah, so you would be able to still query your data, not just through that natural language processing, but if you needed to do your SQL statements and things like that, you will still be able to do that as well, and then drill down into the data sets that are coming from the data sources.
Yep. And another question we had was, so go ahead.
Yeah, so just on that, so the data is refreshed daily as well. So, and it does it through an incremental refresh as well. So it doesn't do a full data refresh every single time. It just does it from the deltas.
Yep, no problems. And the last question we had in there was how easily can we manage the solution, i.e. upload new data, etc.?
Yep, very easy. So point and click. We saw before with the WMS scenario that I did, it was literally just point and click, drag and drop. In fact, even just to connect to one of the existing data sources that we've already got with third party, again, it's still point and click. You just simply find, if it was Salesforce, you would find the Salesforce logo, click on that, put in your connections, and then it's very easy from there.
Great. We had another question come
There's
through.
also training on LCS.
Yep.
There's also lots of training available on NSAW.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So if anybody has a Learning Cloud Support Pass, there's quite a few modules on NSAW that you can go in and kind of learn how to use the application. So that's great that that's now available in general release as well. So how does NSAW handle heavy customizations of NetSuite? So I'm assuming that question's around if there's specific custom records and tables and things like that that have been created, is it possible to incorporate those into the data streams and data sources?
Yeah, so out of the box, it will include, just the standard fields. However, if you do have custom fields, the data pipeline can be augmented, just maybe some implementation work that needs to happen, but can certainly support custom fields.
Great. And can you force refresh the data earlier than a day?
Yes, you can refresh on demand.
You can refresh on demand. Perfect. I'll just wait another second to see if any additional questions come up, but I think that might be it for the questions now. Just a quick one at the end as well. We do have a quick poll that we will put on the screen as well for anybody that just wants any follow-up from this message today. So obviously there'll be some people that really wanted to look at this quite urgently. We know that we've been speaking with a lot of people that are really keen to get this connected into the NetSuite environment. There'll be some people that will want to know more about it, and there'll be some people that are sort of looking at doing this sometime in the future. So if you could just indicate your preferences on the poll for us. Actually, I think the poll is finished now, so that should come through via email as well. But I think that is it for today. So thank you very much again for your time, Justin. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to join. We will give you 15 minutes of your day back as well, which is fantastic. And thanks everyone for your time and your attendance today. And we will be in contact with you as you request in the very, very near future. So thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.